There are many types of trekking poles out there, so in this video, I'll be walking you through which poles work the best with CleanTrek's attachments. First off, the trigger and collector both include highly adjustable clamps that can fit to any trekking pole, with the trigger designed to fit the top segment of your pole and the collector designed to fit the middle or bottom segment. The optional tongs holder can fit anywhere, but I recommend putting it up near the trigger for easy access. Since the trigger and collector clamps are so versatile, pole compatibility with CleanTrek tends to come down to the grabber as well as the poles themselves and how their length adjustment works. But first, let's talk about installing the grabber. Almost all trekking poles include basket threads, which are typically used to install baskets. But unless you're hiking through thick snow or mud, you probably don't need these baskets, which is why we've repurposed them for installing the CleanTrek grabber. But since trekking poles don't all have the same threads, we also have interchangeable threaded inserts. Simply grab the insert that fits your pole, insert it into the grabber, and screw the grabber into place. The end length of trekking poles can also vary, so to account for this, the grabber arm is length adjustable. No tools required, just flip the clip out of the way, slide the grabber arm to the desired length, and push the clip back into place. It's not very common, but if the grabber still isn't long enough, we do have a longer tip you can install with an included Allen wrench to give you a longer reach. And by the way, the grabber can work with or without a rubber end cap on the end of your pole, so use whichever setup works best for you. Now, there are two exceptions where a grabber will absolutely not fit onto a pole. Number one, some poles have baskets that are permanently installed, and even if you could find a way to remove it, there aren't any basket threads to install the grabber with. And number two, there are some ultralight poles that have a super short end length, which doesn't leave enough room for the grabber. But if your poles are relatively standard, you shouldn't have a problem. Now for the trekking poles themselves. There are three main types of pole length adjustment: telescopic with flip locks, foldable with flip lock, and telescopic with twist locks, and I'll be going over each one in that order. The first type is telescopic with flip locks. These flip locks hold each telescoping segment into place for convenient length adjustment. For day hikes, these tend to be my go-tos for a few different reasons. Number one, unlike the other trekking pole types, the flip locks prevent the pole segments from rotating with respect to each other, meaning there's no risk of your grabber or collector rotating out of place while hiking. Number two, it's really easy to adjust the length and rotation of each segment, giving you full control over the exact position of each CleanTrek attachment. And number three, collapsing the poles is fairly easy with the CleanTrek attachments installed. In fact, it's kind of nice if you don't mess with the cord length, because the next time you go to extend your poles, it'll remember what length you last had them at, and you'll be ready to go with your same settings as before. These poles are still a bit long when collapsed and might not easily fit into your backpack. To get your pole to collapse as far as possible, I recommend clamping your collector to the bottom of the middle pole segment. That brings us to our second type of pole, which is foldable. These folding segments snap into place under tension, and the pole length can be adjusted with a single flip lock up near the top. These foldable poles are great for travel and for any hike where you may want to throw your poles into your backpack. If set up right, these poles can even fold with CleanTrek's attachments still installed. And when it comes time to unfold the poles, you can pick up right where you left off. When collapsing your poles with your collector, just make sure that the collector is attached to only one pole segment for the best results. Compared to the telescopic flip lock poles, the only drawback with the foldable poles is that the pole segments are not rotationally fixed to one another. So basically, your grabber or collector could rotate while hiking if enough force is applied. Don't get me wrong, I hike with this setup all the time with no issues. The poles normally don't rotate much while hiking, but when it does happen, it can be a little annoying. The third and final type of pole is the telescopic with twist locks, where twisting the segments locks and unlocks them. While these are really handy trekking poles, they're unfortunately not super compatible with CleanTrek's attachments for a few reasons. First, if you want to adjust the pole length, the cord could get wrapped up unless you remove the cord from the trigger completely. Second, because the rotation angles of the pole segments are arbitrary, you really don't have a great way to set the grabber's rotation angle without some weird finessing. These issues are not as prevalent for the collector, so you might be able to make it work with that, especially if you connect your collector to the middle segment and only adjust the bottom segment. In summary, I'd highly recommend the telescopic flip lock poles anytime you're on a hike where you plan to be holding your poles the entire time. If you have plans to toss your poles into your bag at any point, then I'd recommend the foldable poles as long as you're not too bothered by the potential of your pole segments rotating. I don't generally recommend twist lock poles because of how hard it can be to align the different CleanTrek attachments, but if you can find a way to make it work, that's great, and especially if you're only using a collector, I find that this can be fairly doable. Since this is a lot of information, I've gone ahead and summarized all of the pros and cons of each type of trekking pole in this table for your convenience. Now, a quick bonus feature to discuss here is handle grips. Some trekking poles have long handle grips, requiring your trigger to be positioned far from your hand. It's all up to your personal preference, but for me, I recommend getting poles with short grips and possibly even overlapping the trigger with the grips so that you have to move your hands as little as possible. Now, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, don't worry, because I'm putting together a trekking pole database that tracks all these factors we've discussed and sums them up into a single compatibility rating. If you're looking to buy trekking poles, you can sort by compatibility and price to find the best option for you. And if you already own trekking poles, you can look up their compatibility too. If your pole isn't in the database, you can either request that we look into it, or you can submit your own results for us to review and add to the database. Really, this is meant to be a collaborative effort, so we want to hear your feedback to keep the database accurate and improve compatibility in the future. Thanks for listening, and I hope this video helps you get the perfect CleanTrek's setup for your next hike.